The desert moon of Thraxis 7 was quiet that morning. Jason Burke, tired human trader from Earth, had just arrived the night before. He'd been traveling across the outer colonies for weeks, selling old Earth tech, gathering scraps, and running. From the past, his ship was low on power and he needed rest. He found a dusty old motel unit on the edge of the city. A place so forgotten that even the cleaning bots sounded like they were coughing. But it had a bed, working lights, and a button on the wall labeled breakfast order press before sleep. He didn't think much of it. Jason pressed the button, threw off his boots, fell into bed. The next morning, a soft knock woke him. Knock, knock, Jason groaned. Just leave it at the door, he muttered. Still half-dash asleep, but the knock came again. Knock, knock, more firm this time. Jason sighed, stood up shirtless, and shuffled toward the door. He rubbed his eyes and opened it hand, froze. Standing outside was not a food tray robot. It was a girl. No, an alien girl. Humanoid, but clearly not human. Her skin shimmered silver under the twin suns. Her large, glowing purple eyes met his, and in her trembling hands was a breakfast tray with a steaming mug and fruit loaf. She was barefoot. She wore a plain gray robe, slightly oversized. Her hair, thin and glowing softly, was tied back behind long, pointed ears. Jason blinked twice. "Did you bring my food?" The girl nodded slowly, her voice barely a whisper. "Yes, sir. I am your breakfast." "Service unit for the day." He frowned. "Service unit, what does that mean?" She didn't answer. Her eyes dropped to the ground, and she held out the tray with both hands, as if scared he might hit her for speaking. Jason felt a knot tighten in his chest. "Hey, it's okay," he said softly. "You don't have to be scared. Come inside before someone sees you like this." She hesitated. I'm not supposed to enter without permission," she said, almost shaking. Jason stepped aside. "And I'm giving you permission." She stepped in slowly, carefully, like a wild creature, unsure if the trap had just been set. Jason set the tray down on the table and pulled a chair for her. "Sit. You want something to eat too?" he asked. She froze. I don't eat unless..." Told. Jason gave her a confused look. "Okay, then I'm telling you to eat. You're shaking." Her eyes widened. "No one ever said that before." They sat down together. She picked up a small piece of fruit and tasted it slowly, like it was her first real bite of food in days. Jason studied her quietly. "Do you have a name?" She nodded. "Leary." "Leary. That's a pretty name. Where are you from?" She looked up, nervous. "I was grown here. In the back. The motel has rooms for service girls like me. We're trained to please customers in different ways." Jason's heart dropped. He leaned back in the chair, suddenly realizing this wasn't just some futuristic hotel perk. "You're not." "Some robot, are you?" he asked. She shook her head. "Half-breed, part synthetic, mostly flesh. They just give you 2 guests? With breakfast?" "Yes, for high-tier guests." You press the red button. That means full package. Jason rubbed his forehead, feeling sick. "I didn't ask for this." "You didn't, but the system gave me anyway," she said, voice low. "They don't care what you want, only what you pay." He looked at her again, really looked not, just as a girl or an alien, but as someone terrified, cold, and stuck in a place that treated her like property. Her robe was thin. Her knees were scraped. There were faint lines on her wrists, maybe from cuffs. "Do you want to stay here?" Jason asked. Leary looked up in shock. "What? I mean, with me? Just for today?" "You don't have to do anything. Just be safe." Stared at him like he was speaking another language. No one ever offered that before, she whispered outside. The red eye of a small security drone blinked under the motel roof. Inside, Jason poured Leary a second cup of tea. The suns rose higher, and the silence between them slowly became comfortable, but neither of them knew that someone had already filed a report. Unit Leary 47 left assigned guest room without direct command. The motel room was quiet. Jason sat on the edge of the bed, watching Leary sleep curled up on the floor near the window. He had offered her the bed, but she refused, not allowed. she had said softly, but even in sleep her body was tense. Her silver skin twitched with each sound from outside, like she expected someone to burst in and drag her away. Jason couldn't sleep either. He kept replaying her words from earlier. I am your breakfast service unit for the day.
What?
Kind of place trained living beings to be part of a meal package. And worse, what kind of system called it normal? Jason stood up quietly and walked to the window. Outside, the sand was still. The morning light glowed pale orange across the broken metal fences and dry roads. No one was around, but he had a feeling someone was watching. He turned back, leery. Stirred, her eyes fluttered open. When she saw him standing near the window, she sat up fast, eyes wide in panic. Did I oversleep? Am I late? She said, voice shaky. Jason raised his hands quickly. Hey, it's okay. You're not in trouble. Leary looked around. You didn't call for the handler? No, Jason said, confused. Why would I? She blinked. Because I didn't finish the full service. He said humans expect that first thing in the morning. Jason felt his stomach twist. Leary, who told you that? The trainers. They said we were made to serve humans. Food, comfort, body, anything. I was grown for that. My blood belongs to the motel. Jason walked closer and knelt in front of her. You're not furniture, you're not food, you're not some tool. Shh. Looked away. But that's all I know how to be. Shook his head. Then maybe I can teach you something else. Jason took Leary with him that afternoon. He told the motel staff he was going for a walk. It didn't stop him. They didn't care as long as the guest paid the bill. But the real plan wasn't a walk. It was freedom. He took her to the outer district area where no corporate patrols ever went. It was dirty, loud, full of scavengers and smugglers, but it was free. No tracking, no cameras. It was also the only place he knew that had a chip hacker someone. Who could remove the tracker in Leary's neck? They found a hidden door under a metal staircase. Jason knocked twice. A red lens blinked on. A robotic voice spoke. Who sent you? No one, Jason replied. I brought someone who needs out. Of the system. There was a long pause. The door opened. Inside, the room was dark and smelled like hot metal. Screens covered the walls, blinking with alien code. And behind the desk sat a thin figure with 3 cybernetic arms and half a face made of polished bone. Human, the hacker said, eyeing Leary. You bring me a motel toy? She's not a toy, Jason said firmly. She's a person. And she wants her chip out. The hacker laughed. You got guts. I'll give you that. Leary stood. Behind Jason, shaking. I don't know if I can do this, she whispered. Jason looked back. You can, but only if you want to. I'm not forcing you. Her lips trembled, then she nodded. I want to be free. The procedure was fast, but not painless. There was no anesthesia, no comfort. Leary bit down on a cloth while the hacker sliced into the back of her neck. Jason held her hand tightly.
Ounce.
She didn't scream, but tears streamed down her face. Her entire body shook like a leaf in the wind. Jason felt something shift inside him. This wasn't just about helping someone. This was war against a system that dehumanized the innocent. When it was over, the hacker held up a small metallic chip. This is her leash. Now it's broken. Jason paid him with the last of his credits. As they walked out, the hacker gave one final warning. Be careful, human. You're not her owner anymore. You're her protector. That means her enemies are yours now. Good. Let them come. That night, Leary sat silently on the motel bed. Her choice. Jason offered to get another room. She said no. I'm not scared when you're here. She looked out the window and asked a question she never thought she'd say. What does freedom feel like? Jason smiled softly. It's scary at first, but then it becomes everything. Leary turned her glowing eyes toward him. For the first time, there was a tiny smile on her lips. I want to feel everything. Jason didn't sleep that night. Not really. Leary had fallen asleep on the motel bed, clutching the corner of a pillow like it was something rare and precious. Her breathing was soft, steady, peaceful. But Jason's mind was racing. He stood by. The sink, splashing cold water on his face. Its reflection in the cracked mirror looked tired. Older than he remembered. There was no turning back now. She was free, but being free didn't mean safe. Jason glanced at the table. Leary's tracker chip, now deactivated, sat in a small cloth pouch. It looked harmless, like a button or a coin. But it had been her prison. And now that it was gone, someone was bound to notice. He opened his cum scanner static, then dash click, dot a dot. Faint signal bounced across the motel's security grid. Jason frowned. They're already looking. At dawn, Jason shook Leary awake gently. Hey, he whispered. Time to go. She blinked, confused. But I thought we had time. Don't. They're tracking motel system activity. The chip going silent. That's a red flag. Leary sat up quickly. They'll send reclaim units. Jason nodded. Exactly. And if they find you without the chip, I'll be listed as rogue property, she said, her voice quiet but sharp. They'll erase me. Jason looked her straight in the eyes. Not on my watch. They slipped out the back entrance. Jason had parked his hoverbike in an alley nearby. It was old, patched with scrap, and smelled like burnt wires. But it ran. Leary climbed on behind him, her hands gripping his waist tightly. As they pulled into the early morning mist, she asked softly, Where are we going? Jason didn't look back. To the one place they'll never expect. 20. Miles outside the colony zone was a cargo yard, a maze of old containers stacked high like tombstones. Others were hiding secrets. Jason knew someone who lived there. Her name was Rikan, ex-military engineer turned outlaw mechanic. She didn't like questions. But she owed Jason a favor. They arrived at a hidden section guarded by rusted drones and fake quarantine signs. Jason tapped a code into the panel by the gate. It opened with a hiss. Leary looked up in awe at the towering walls of scrap and metal. This place smells like forgotten things. Jason smiled. That's what makes it perfect. Inside, Rika stood waiting. She was tall, broad-shouldered, and wore a flame-scorched welding suit. You brought trouble, she said bluntly, eyeing Leary. I brought someone who needs to disappear, Jason replied. Rika raised an eyebrow. You know how many people come to me saying that? It's different, he said. She was created to serve, but she chose freedom, and now they're hunting her. Rika looked at Leary again. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Rika nodded. All right, I'll help, but we need to move fast. They'll send eyes to every ship port within 2 sectors. Rika took Leary inside a reprogrammed transport pod. We'll scrub your biosignature, give you a new ID. But there's one last thing we need, she said. Jason tensed. What? A binding marker. Something that proves she's not property. Leary. Flinched, you mean? Bonded to a citizen? Rika nodded. She's connected to a human legally IA. It becomes harder for corporations to claim her. Jason was silent. Leary turned to him. Why died? Do you want to bind me? Jason didn't answer immediately. He could say no. Walk away. But deep down, he already knew he didn't just want to protect her anymore. He cared about her, finally. He said, if it keeps you safe, then yes, I want to. Leary blushed, surprised. Then I accept. Ricker handed over a bindstone, glowing crystal that linked minds through shared intent. Not a marriage, not ownership. Something older, deeper, and sacred among alien species. Jason and Leary touched it together. It pulsed once, then vanished in a flash of warm light. Suddenly, alarms shrieked through the junkyard. Are IKK accursed? They're here. It's outside. 2 black-armored drones floated down from the sky. Behind them, a sleek, corporate dropship hissed as it landed. Jason grabbed his blaster. Get Leary to the escape tunnel. Leary pulled his sleeve. I won't leave without you, Jason growled, eyes locked on the enemy. And I won't let them take you. So go. She hesitated, then turned and ran. Jason stood alone in front of the container gate, his heart pounding. He raised his weapon. For breakfast delivery, he muttered. This sure went sideways. Leary ran barefoot through the cold tunnels of the scrapyard, heart thudding like a war drum in her chest. The air smelled like burning metal and oil. Echoes of shouting and drone fire bounced through the maze of old containers behind her. Every step felt like betrayal. She had left Jason behind, but he told her to run, and she obeyed. She had always obeyed, but now, the first time, she didn't want to. Not because she was afraid, but because someone had chosen to protect her, not use her. And that someone was still out there, fighting alone. Suddenly, Rika's voice crackled over the comlink Jason had shoved in her hand. "Kid, change of plan. Tunnel 6 is compromised. Get to the lower ramp under Unit K12. Go. Go."
Leary's
Feet skidded on the gravel floor as she turned sharply into a dark ventilation shaft. It's barely large enough to crawl through. Behind her, she heard one of the drones giving commands. Target Leary 47 confirmed. Status unauthorized. Retrieve or terminate. Her blood ran cold. Meanwhile, above ground, Jason stood in front of the entrance, makeshift shield strapped to his arm and a blaster gripped in his hand. The drones advanced with slow, confident movements. One of them spoke in a metallic voice. "Return the property. No need for bloodshed." Jason smirked. "Too late. You've spilled enough of that already." Fired first. The shot struck the lead drone square in the sensor, causing it to spark and drop. The second one responded with a burst of plasma. Jason dove, rolled, and fired. Again, he was fast, but they were faster. It's designed to retrieve runaway assets, not just kill. A blast hit his shoulder, searing his jacket and skin beneath. He grunted but stayed standing. Behind him, Rika appeared from the side tunnel and threw him a smoke bomb. "Fall back, idiot." Jason caught it and tossed it at the drones, buying a few seconds. They both retreated into a side shaft. "Where's the girl?" Rika asked, panting. "Still in the tunnels," Jason said. "We need to cover her escape." Rika nodded. "Then we give her a new way out." Far below, Leary reached the abandoned control station beneath the yard. The walls flickered with forgotten lights and old code. There she saw something glowing on the floor, the bind-dash stone. It had changed. Instead of soft blue, it now pulsed. With red and gold alive, with something new, she picked it up, and it hummed warmly in her hand. Suddenly, images rushed into her and Jason's memories. Not all. Just fragments. A boy losing his brother in a raid. A soldier leaving his squad behind to save one civilian. A man staring at a cold motel ceiling, whispering, "I just want one good thing." Leary dropped the stone in shock. He showed me his soul. Up above, Jason and Rika laid down suppressive fire as the dropship lowered its claws to grab a section of containers and crush the tunnel system. "Go," Jason shouted. "I'll hold them off. You'll die," Rika snapped. "Then, I'll die doing the right thing." Before she could argue, a loud voice rang out from behind them. I said stop. Jason turned and saw Leary standing on top of a cargo lift, holding the bindstone in one hand, something else in the other, the tracker chip. With trembling fingers, she crushed the chip under her heel. "I am no one's property," she declared. "I choose where I belong, and I choose him." The stone in her hand glowed brilliantly, and suddenly, every drone paused, froze. The bindstone had activated an ancient protocol. Older than Earth's colonies, a biological override command meant to protect bonded pairs. Jason blinked. "Leary, what did you just do?" She looked down at him, smiling through her tears. "I protected you this time." The drones powered down. The dropship retreated, receiving an error. Bonded pair. Status, protected by Treaty 9 Zeta, no action authorized. Jason dropped his blaster and let out a breathless laugh. "You just saved both of us." Leary stepped forward. "I'm not running anymore." That night, in a quiet, hidden shelter beneath the scrapyard, Jason sat beside Leary, wrapping her, shoulder in soft cloth. He looked at her and asked, "What happens now?" Leary smiled. "We stop surviving and start living." The silence after the escape felt heavier than the gunfire before it. Jason and Leary lay hidden inside Rika's underground shelter safe, for now. The glow of the bindstone had faded. The drones were gone. The motel had been forced to mark, "Leary is unrecoverable," thanks to a forgotten law buried deep in alien treaties. But freedom. Leary was learning wasn't just about escaping chains. It was about learning how to live without them. Rika brought them warm soup that night, silent, but respectful. Even the gruff old engineer could see that something sacred had just happened. Jason, arm bandaged and lip bruised, sat across from Leary on the cold floor. He was exhausted but smiling. Leary, meanwhile, stared at the bowl in her hands like it was a strange puzzle. "You can eat, you know," Jason said softly. "I know," she whispered. "I just don't know how to eat when I'm not being watched." Jason leaned forward. "Leary, no one's watching now. Not like that. Not anymore." She looked at him. "You watching me?" He blinked, caught off guard, I guess, yeah. She smiled shyly. "Then I think I'm okay with it." Over the next few days, everything changed. Leary didn't just hide. She explored, she wandered the scrapyard, touching rusted metal, listening to wind blow through old ship hulls, learning to whistle from a stray maintenance bot she named Pip. She tried earth, chocolate for the first time, and nearly cried from joy. She danced alone in the rain when a storm rolled over the yard. She asked Jason strange questions like, "Do people choose hugs? Why do humans cry when they're happy? How do you know if someone loves you?" Jason always answered as best he could. But one evening, while they were fixing a broken heat panel together, she asked something that made him pause. "Do you think I was made wrong?" He looked at her, heart aching. "No, I think you were made to write. For the wrong world." Later that night, Leary sat alone near a fire pit Ricker had built into the floor. The warmth of the flames danced. On her silver skin, Jason approached and sat beside her quietly. She didn't look at him. Instead, she said, "You know, they used to train us to smile on command." The trainer would say, "Smile, Leary," and if I didn't do it fast enough, they'd hurt me. But when you smile at me, I want to smile back. Even without being told. Jason swallowed hard. He had seen so much war, so many broken systems. But nothing had ever made him this angry and this protective. He reached over slowly and held her hand. "I'm sorry," he said, "for everything they did, but I'm glad I met you." She looked at him, eyes shining in the firelight. "Do I make you feel anything, Jason?" He smiled. "You make me feel human again." That same night, a transmission came through Rika's cum tower, an encrypted message, a warning. Colonial bounty authorities have issued a silent flag on a human. Male, traveling with an unregistered hybrid female. Suspected data theft and biological smuggling. Reward, 50,000 credits. Rika looked at the screen, then at Jason and Leary sitting together by the fire. "You two need to disappear," she said. Jason stood. "Where can we go?" "There's a cargo ship leaving tomorrow morning. No ID checks, headed to the neutral zones." Jason nodded. "We'll take it." Leary stood up too. "Wait," Ricker said, looking at Leary with something close to respect. "You sure you want this life? Always on the run?" Leary replied, clear and calm. "I spent my whole life being still and controlled. I'd rather run with Jason than sit still as property." Rika smirked. "Then take this." She tossed Leary a small device. "What is it?" Leary asked. "A field emitter. Turns your skin tone fully human for short periods. Won't fool scanners, but good enough to walk through a crowd." Leary held it carefully. "Thank you." As they packed to leave, Jason watched Leary fold the old motel robe she had arrived in. He thought she'd throw it away. Instead, she tucked it carefully into her bag. "I don't want to forget where I came from," she explained. "Not because I miss it, but because it reminds me how far I've come." Jason nodded slowly. She wasn't just someone he saved. She was someone who had started saving herself. The scrapyard slept under the twin moons. Jason and Leary stood near the old cargo hauler, their bags packed, hearts racing. In just a few hours, they'd be far beyond Thraxis 7, free in the neutral zones, with new identities and no chains. Leary adjusted the field emitter on her wrist. With a soft pulse, her silver skin shimmered, then turned a warm human tan. Her glowing violet eyes dimmed to brown. Jason smiled. "You look normal?" Leary giggled. "I feel strange. But maybe that's what normal feels like." He squeezed her hand gently. Just a few more hours? But the night was holding its breath, because something was coming. Across the scrapyard, hidden in the shadows of the distant containers, they arrived. The motel hadn't given up. 4 black armored retrieval units moved silently between the rows. They didn't walk, they glided, almost ghost-like. No lights, no warnings. They had one mission. Retrieve Unit Leary 47. Condition: alive, if possible. Broken if necessary. Inside the warehouse, Rika leaned over her cum screen and narrowed her eyes. "No," she whispered. "Not now." She hit the red emergency switch. BZZZT. Siren lights flared inside the cargo shelter. Jason's instincts kicked in. "That's not a drill." Rika's voice crackled over the loudspeaker. "They're here. For retrieval units. No drones this time," they sent flesh. Jason turned to Leary. "Stay behind me." But Leary stepped forward. "No, not this time." Jason blinked. "Leary," she looked at him, steady and fearless. "If I run now, I'll always run. I want to face what made me and show them I'm not theirs anymore." Jason nodded slowly. "Then we do it together." The first retrieval agent kicked in the outer door like a thunderclap. Their black armor bore the motel's logo, subtle, polished, and cruel. "You are harboring corporate property," one of them said, a voice deep and lifeless. "She's not property," Jason answered, stepping forward. "She's free. Check your system. She's bonded. Protected." The lead agent tilted his head. "We don't recognize outworld binding. The contract is Motel-born. She belongs to us." Leary stepped forward, deactivating the emitter. Her silver skin returned. Her violet eyes burned. She spoke loud and clear. "I belong to myself." The retrieval unit raised a stunner rod. Before he could swing, Leary moved, swift, instinctive. She ducked, turned, and twisted the weapon from his hand in one fluid motion. The others moved in, but Jason was already firing, unlethal rounds meant to disable. Rika dropped a heavy container from above, blocking one of the agents with a loud crash. "You think I build junk here?" she yelled. "Build traps, morons." One of the agents tried to grab Leary from behind. Big mistake. Leary spun, elbowed his throat, and used the moves she was trained never to use. The ones they had beaten into her. Now she used them for herself, and she didn't hold back. The fight didn't last long. 2 agents were unconscious. One limped away through the back. The last one, barely able to stand, looked at Leary, eyes unreadable behind his black visor. "You weren't made for this." Leary stood over him. "No, I was made to serve, but I chose to live. That makes me more dangerous than you'll ever be." Then she pressed the tip of the stunner to his chest and zapped him out cold. Silence returned. Jason looked at her with wide eyes. "You're kind of scary." She smirked, wiping sweat from her brow. "Only 2 people who try to cage me." Rika leaned on the doorway, arms crossed. "Remind me not to piss you off." They boarded the cargo ship just before sunrise. Jason walked beside Leary, a fresh wound on his cheek, but peace in his eyes, as the ramp closed behind them, sealing them off from the world they'd just escaped. Leary reached into her pocket and pulled out something small, the crushed tracker chip. She looked at it one last time, then dropped it into the ship's trash incinerator. Jason looked at her. "You ready?" She nodded. But before the engines lifted them into the stars, she whispered, "I don't want to be just free. I want to learn how to be me." Jason replied softly, "Then let's go figure it out together." The stars outside the window of the freighter drifted slowly. Inside the small passenger cabin, Leary sat on a folded blanket, hugging her knees, watching space pass by like a slow-moving dream. Jason sat beside her, silent, close enough to offer comfort but not too close to crowd her. It had been 3 days since they left the RAXIS-7. 3 days since she fought the people who made her. 3 days since she truly became free. And yet, freedom was a strange feeling. It didn't come with instructions. "Do you miss it?" Jason asked quietly. Leary blinked. "The motel?" "No. The idea of being told what to do, having everything planned for you. She thought for a moment. There's a strange comfort in being controlled, she admitted. No choices. Fear of mistakes. Jason nodded slowly, but no joy either. She turned to him. Is that why humans love freedom so much? Because of joy, he smiled. Because of choice? And yeah, because of joy. Real joy only exists when it's yours. Not assigned, not forced. Leary looked down at her hands. Sometimes I don't know what to do with them. Jason raised an eyebrow. Your hands? She nodded. I was trained to use them for service, carrying trays, bowing, touching only when told. Now, they don't know their purpose. Shh, Jason reached out and gently took one of her hands in his. Then let's find new reasons to use them. They landed on a small neutral moon called Elerani, where no one cared about tracking chips or corporate ownership. A place where refugees, misfits, and runaways built a quiet life. Jason traded his last crate of Earth tech for a dusty shop lot at the edge of the colony. The sign read, "Just breakfast." Inside, there were only 2 chairs, a stove, and a cracked window that let in the sun. I thought I'd try making something simple, Jason explained. No war, no missions, just pancakes and peace. Leary tilted her head. You built all this for food? No, he smiled. For us. For anyone who's tired of being someone else's property. She touched the counter gently, like it might disappear. Can I help? Of course, but only if you want to. Word spread fast across the colony. A human ran a diner with a strange girl who looked half human, half Dash Star. No questions were asked. People came with bruises, scars, silent pain, and were greeted with warm food and warmer smiles. Leary didn't serve because she was told. She served because she wanted to give kindness. Freely, something she never received growing up. She wore her silver skin openly now. No more field emitters. No more hiding. Children loved her soft glowing hair and quiet voice. Old miners called her Star Bloom. Jason called her family. One night, as they cleaned the diner after hours, Leary placed something on the table. Jason looked down and saw it, the bindstone, still pulsing softly like a beating heart. You kept it, he said. Leary nodded. It means something to me. It's not just a contract, it's a promise. She looked into his eyes. Jason, I was created to serve, but you taught me how to feel. I want to keep feeling this with you, if that's what you want to. Jason reached out and gently placed his hand on hers like he had that day in the scrapyard. I don't want a servant, he said. I don't want a prize. I want you, exactly as you are. Leary smiled, and it was no longer shy or programmed. It was hers. Outside the diner, under the quiet stars, a new sign was painted below the old one. It read, Everyone's welcome. No chains, no owners, just breakfast and freedom. And some say that if you ever land on Elerani, you'll see them still. They're a human man and a silver-skinned girl, cooking for strangers, laughing freely, because what started as a breakfast order has become a forever home.